Hey, good morning, folks. This is Matthew, and we're going to go ahead and do some work on creating some modular letter forms for a project in typography. And one of the requirements for there are two words that we want to work with. We want to work with your name and a word that describes who you are, so an adjective. In the project PDF, I wrote down two words. For myself, the first one is Matthew, and the second one I wrote down Najoni. And the reason I wrote that one down is not necessarily because I think of myself as an extraordinarily beautiful person, but I just felt like it was an appropriate word to use in the context of Diné College, because I hear that word a lot and I think of that word a lot. And so I wanted to use that word in sort of the walkthrough with this project. So I'm currently, let's see, screen sharing, and I'm sharing my desktop, so you should be able to see the software, no problem. But in order to do this project, you really need to use Adobe Illustrator to create letter forms, because that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be creating unique and individual letter forms for this project. We want it to be custom. And so, obviously we can, coming up here, one moment, folks, Essentials Classic. If we go over here to character, you can see there are so many out-of-the-box fonts that can be used. But I really do believe that, creating a custom font or a custom typeface or custom letter forms can really enhance the quality of a project. In this particular circumstance, we are not going to be applying the typeface or the letter forms to a particular project. Rather, it's just a fun exercise to kind of give you a brief introduction as to how this might work in a modular way. And so now I'm going to turn on my grid, zoom in a little bit. And by the way, this artboard is 4 by 5 inches. I think that's a pretty good size to work with for the time being. I also need it to be right on the grid. So right now it's kind of askew, and that's not going to work for this project, guys. So before I go any further, let's actually do something else. You can go up into preferences, okay, for Illustrator, and you can go over to guides and grid. And when you turn that on, you see a few things that you can change within the preferences, guides, and grids grid zone. I'm going to change this to 8, I believe, and just kind of take a look. In fact, that might be too much, but for the time being, let's leave it as is. But it's really important to kind of choose sort of a scale of your project at the get-go. And what I'm doing right now, by the way, I'm going to snap this to the grid so you can kind of see I just changed it to 8 divisions within a 1-inch square. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That might be a little bit much, but I don't know. Just because everything is segmented in 1/8 inch marks doesn't necessarily mean I need to use those, I guess, predominantly in my project design. But so that's where I'm going to leave things. I think I'm pretty comfortable with 1/8, I believe. And so here's the other thing, MATTHEW, that's where I'm going to start. And so eventually I'm going to need to recreate this artboard several times. But before I do that, my way of working is I want there to be some kind of a design system that I can, it's a design system that's flexible and can be applied to all of these letter forms in different ways, but essentially to unite them with a particular aesthetic. And in my mind, I have an idea of what I want this to be, just, through my experiences, with the software and also just, design that I really appreciate and like. But So the first thing I need to do is I need to create some sort of a diagram, a design system, an underlaying design system that's talking to this grid and will guide me as I'm trying to create these letter forms that will describe my name and the word Najoni. Okay. So I'm going to go into the layers palette, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call that layer system. It's a pretty good word for me. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm currently I'm snapping to grid currently, as you can kind of see, which is really handy with this sort of a project because you are going to be using that design system quite a bit. I work this way because after you get the system resolved, in a sense, the rest of the project is just intuition and using that design system as a tool, as a guiding tool to solve these other letter form problems. Okay. And what I would do, and I'm just going to sort of intuitively start, you grab the pen tool, and I'm just going to start to intuitively, here we go, make that a little bit bigger too for everyone. I'm going to intuitively just start to carve. Okay. And I'm not exactly sure where I'm going with this. The real truth is that I'm doing this digitally first, but I would like to strongly suggest that you folks work in your sketchbook as a beginning point. Okay. So again, I'm just kind of intuitively, and actually I don't know if I like that. Yeah. Okay. Pen tool. I think this is a fun project. Got to make sure everything's exact too. You know, sometimes like I can already tell that this was not where it needed to be. So you're gonna have to make some adjustments to make sure because it's really important that this is perfect, folks. You kind of already kind of see what I'm doing. It's not nearly enough though, right? Guess I could have just zigzagged all the way down. That's okay. Because again, I'm just working intuitively right now. It can be a really valuable thing. Just trusting yourself. Now we already have a system here, and that's a grid system, but I'm creating some rules or some constraints for myself. That's really what I'm doing here, folks. Gotta clean that up. It's gonna get a little confusing pretty quickly. Hmm. Yeah, and I'm just kind of thinking intuitively here, folks, okay? I'm not sure if that is going to work. I'm gonna backtrack. That doesn't feel right to me. Right? Well, I think what I need is just this. Hmm. I like this because there's a general kind of, although this is kind of interesting. Look, huh, I might have to make an adjustment there. That's because this is not, yeah, I need to make an adjustment. Hmm. Or not, I'll just keep it. Who says that this, yeah, sometimes what I'm concerned with is that there are these real consistent sort of parallels happening here, and this ended up being a little bit different, but maybe that's okay. You guys, I get a little bit kind of I get in the weeds with these things a little bit sometimes, and I've been learning to embrace possibility, if that's a good way to put it. So, but I'm my spidey sense is telling me to do something here, so I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. And you'll see how this is going to work. You know, this is just sort of a webbing or sort of a lens. I guess maybe that's a good way to put it. It's a lens. It's a design constraint lens that's going to guide me and lead me towards letter forms, I'm hoping. So I kind of feel like doing something else. Bear with me for a second. And things are kind of moving that direction. I think it might be well balanced if things are kind of slightly askew the opposite direction. So my intuition is telling me to make this move. Yeah, feels good. Yeah, and this has gotten complicated pretty quickly. And I'm sort of okay with that because not this is this is just the design system. Things will look quite different, hopefully, while I'm working. But you know, this is also an experiment. You know, you just gotta throw a little bit of caution to the wind, right? And see what happens. Design isn't always about controlling everything. Okay. Um, hmm. Just kind of taking a moment to reflect a little bit. Imagining how letter forms can be sort of extracted from this. I think if I complicate this any further, it might be to the project's detriment. So I'm kind of feeling like this is a stopping point. But I will say this. I think starting in your sketchbook is a really good sort of strategy, but also working live on the screen works quite often for me, in all honesty, because you get to see it live. And so turning the grid on and off, you can kind of see that there really are two systems sort of talking to each other here. And so I'm going to be working with this modular grid system, but I'm also kind of working with this carving system. And the way that they're sort of overlaid on top of each other is going to help me a lot. Okay. And I'm going to set some goals for myself. So first of all, I know I need 7 letterform opportunities for my name. And so I need to create 6 additional artboards here. Let's go ahead and do that. And what you can do on a Mac, notice I've selected the artboard tool on a Mac. If I hit it's option. If you hit option, notice how the little cursor kind of changes to the double cursor. That means that you can essentially just kind of drag and select. Now I've still got snap to grid on, and that's why it's snapping to the background grid, which I need. And so that's why I'm going to put it right next door, because I don't want to skip a whole inch. I guess, all right, I'm going to do it. Whoops. Hold on, guys. Just so that I can see things clearly, and it's digital space, so there's no reason to be stingy, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But you guys, I want to have more than one. I don't want to just use the first version of M that I see. So I'm actually going to do this twice. And so, this tutorial could take a little while, but I think it'll be worth it because I'm trying to create multiple iterations or opportunities to work with. And the real truth is that, if I had endless amounts, I don't think anyone wants to watch this YouTube video for 12 hours. But I think if this were me doing this project, if I were in your shoes, I would probably create 3, 4 versions of the letter M and A and T. Obviously, I guess I could have 2 different versions of T. But what I'm showing you is I'm setting up my document, really, right? Oh, by the way, I need to save this. Oh boy, I need to save it because things happen, right? I'm going to call it Letterforms. And obviously, I'm going to place this in my typography project folder. And I'll leave that up to you. You guys know the drill. I've also been noticing that a lot of people are using cloud documents. That's fine. I still use physical documents. Maybe that's a little bit crazy, but yeah. Okay, so I've kind of got things set up, but I need to do something similar because guess what? I also need to create there's another word that I want to etch out, and that's Nizhoni. Nizhoni. That's kind of nice. It'll balance it out because there's 7 letter forms for my name. It just so happens, and 7 letter forms in Nizhoni. So that's going to be actually kind of nice. So what I'm going to do, I'm setting up my document. That's all I'm doing right now, guys. Setting up my document, but I need to duplicate these even further. So I'm not done yet. Doesn't take long though, right? Work smarter, not harder. I think, there's a lot of power behind this project. I was talking to you guys the other day about looking at that Grant Green record. In fact, let me do a quick search. It was a Grant Green live at Mozambique. I was sharing this in class the other day, and I just think that there was something about these letterforms that I just thought, this is the project that I'm asking students to do right now. That's it. And so, I mean, this is all custom. You're not going to find this typeface in the drop-down guides. The designer made this, and the typography really kind of describes the aesthetic. And I also read somewhere that a lot of jazz records back in the day, designers, I think it was actually, gosh, I can't remember her name now. It was an interview with a designer, and she was talking about doing a lot of jazz records for a firm that she was working with, 30, 40 years ago. But I thought it was interesting her commenting on jazz artists really liked just typeface on the covers. They liked it real simple and clean and beautiful. But yeah, you can kind of see, look at the circle is just kind of being used here in different circumstances to etch things out. And then there's this real nice kind of curve. I really like that curve, by the way. In fact, I'm probably going to be implementing something like that in my project. And so, but there's a lot of simplicity here, but it's working. Grant Green, I mean, it's legible, it's unique. You can imagine, like, as a designer, coming up with this idea and pitching it, to the design firm, and then running it by the artist, and having that conversation. And then seeing them maybe light up when they see it, when they experience, how it'll look on the cover or how it will feel. And so again, that's kind of like what this project is. It's the beginning of that feeling of being able to put together a typeface or some letter forms. Doing this project successfully means that you're going to be able to find success in the remainder of the semester, because believe it or not, we're actually going to be doing something like this a lot. You're not going to be using that drop down to just select Verdana or Helvetica. You're going to be creating your own typefaces or letter forms. So again, I want to do two different versions so I can decide, okay, which M is better, or which N is better, which Z is better, etc. So, but I have some kind of a design system set up. And again, that design system is resting within a modular grid. And for me, my artboards are approximately 4 by 5 inches. I feel like I don't know, that just makes sense to me. All right, well, let's just start etching it out. Let's start using this system, right? First thing I also want to do is, of course, I've placed this system on a separate artboard. I want to lock that down because I don't want to move it at this point. I feel like everything is set. And now I want to create a new artboard, and I'm just going to call it Letterforms. And I think I'm going to use a different color too. I want it to be enough contrast where I can see it clearly, but I don't want it to be black. So I'm going to use sort of like a real dark kind of charcoal gray. Let's see how that works. And because of this design system, things by nature are going to be very angular. And I'm kind of reflecting on that right now. I think about, one time I had an exhibition. I'm sure everyone has heard me tell this story in class. And I had someone look at my paintings, and they made a comment about how they felt very male. And that comment really confused me a little bit. But then they started talking about angular forms being typically, interpreted as being male. And to me, things never registered that way. For me, you know, the angles come out of me working in ways like this, where I'm just using these design systems, and they have these curvatures in them less. So, but what I wanted to do, for just out of curiosity or just for fun, I think what I want to do is, let's see here. Let's put it on a different layer for a moment. I want to create something more female or more rounded that I can rotate and use as sort of an additional variable in my work, okay? Almost kind of like being inspired by the Grant Green, because there's always this nice kind of curve happening, okay? Not always, look, it doesn't quite happen there, right? So, but it's a consistent curve that's kind of happening. Let's see if I can use that successfully. That move, that operational move. And so let's see. I'm using the pen tool. And look what I'm doing there. I've got, this is fun, guys. I love this stuff. And look, we're still using the grid. See how it's kind of, yeah. I want you guys to see something. I'm actually creating a form that I'm going to use this form to create my other form. It's a slightly different color so I can see it. Go find the Pathfinder tool, one of my favorites. That didn't work because this needs to be on top, right? Arrange, bring to front. Okay, so now I've got this to sort of work with. Huh. All right, and so this can be used up top, of course, you know, to kind of shape things, or it can be used if I rotate it. Object, transform, rotate 90. Can be used in these sort of corners to help me. So I've just introduced an additional variable. I'm still understanding it, but I really like that because it adds some sort of balance to the very rigid system that I've created. So I'm just going to leave that up here for now. I'm not sure how it will be useful, but I've got it prepared, okay? And I'm just trusting myself, guys. I'm just walking myself through this process. By the way, I've also got a big cup of coffee in front of me, so you might hear me slurping occasionally. Yeah. I need to start. I mean, it's always important to just simply begin. And I'm just kind of looking at the diagram right now, envisioning the letter M and how it can be used. But I'm just going to begin because sometimes that's all it takes. I promise, guys, I'm about to start. Okay, I got to do something else. Right now I've snapped a grid on, but I think I'm going to have to start using snap to point. Or just leave smart guides on. Let's see how that goes. But really, I mean, I definitely need to I'm going to turn snap to point on, because as I'm using the pen tool, I want to be able to get these intersections that are happening. I don't know where I'm going, folks. It's kind of a tricky thing too, because actually here's something that might be helpful. Backing up for a second. Maybe I want the system on top so I can see what I'm doing a little more clearly. So I'll make some arrangements on my layers palette. There we go. I think this will be helpful. Look at that. Hmm. Need to go up a little further. I might go back and make some changes, you know, like this could be etched out. There's definitely this, you know, things are being skewed a bit. Again, you guys, you can't overthink it too much. Somehow I'm kind of drawn to this possibility. Hmm. And I'm just kind of working here. I'm just dreaming. You know, the real truth is that like I said, if I were in your shoes, I think two versions of M, it's not quite enough. You could sit here and put a podcast on or listen to some records for hours and hours and hours, really enjoying this, really enjoying the design process. And so, unfortunately, because this is a brief tutorial, I can't take quite so much time. Hmm. I think we do need. You see how that snap to point function is really valuable with this process. Zoom in. Although I will say sometimes when you're a little further out, the snap to point function seems to work a little bit better from my experience. And of course, you can make adjustments after the fact. I almost kind of wish that we're line that like right there, but yeah, I'm trying to work within my design system, right? Hmm. Just kind of looking at it, reflecting just a little bit, folks. Let's do another. Let's see how this one, we're kind of gaining a little bit of experience or knowledge. Okay, that feels right. For some reason that one won't. Go back and correct that. Why that won't snap right there, guys? Hmm. So it's a great exercise in just diagrammatic thinking. Feels like it's getting too complex. Just because all those lines are there doesn't mean that we have to use all of them, right? But, to emphasize again, we are just playing. Guys, I gotta back up. That just doesn't feel right. None of it felt right. A little better. Course correct. This guy did not want to snap for some reason. Oops. Sometimes it does not want to cooperate. Snap to point is there. There we go. The intersection. So sometimes you got to zoom in and out, a little bit to kind of get it to work. And my intuition is telling me that this could possibly work. A simple shape there. Hmm. And let's see. let's move on. So I can kind of see an M a bit there. And you guys, I'm just playing. Hmm. I'm gonna have to make some adjustments. It's not perfect, but I mean, it's the thing about Illustrator is you're always trying to reach perfection. And sometimes it's almost a detriment. Okay. So now I almost kind of want to use this edge a little bit more. You guys can kind of see what I'm doing. Trusting myself, just simply following a little bit of intuition. Hmm. So, now moving on to a capital T. Doesn't want to cooperate, that one. Hmm. Guys, I'm probably going to have to go back and make some adjustments. Again, this is just my first intuitive mapping of creating some letters and having some fun and using a design system. Let's try to create another A down here. We're going to use this edge. A, right? Hmm. We need that anchor point. Sort of an inversion, this version, right? Hmm. Well, that interesting thing that happened here is that almost reads more like an R, doesn't it? I'm going to leave it because that's what I intuitively did. So I'm just going to trust the process for the time being. But I am starting to see like there are a couple M's, abstracted M's here, a couple abstracted A's. In fact, kind of similar moves you can see, but you know, the inverted versions. This T is pretty clear. And it kind of, I'm learning a lesson here that maybe simplicity is the way to go. Maybe I'm overcomplicating. You know, although the system is complicated, my solution through the system does not have to be complicated because I am concerned with legibility, right? So, you know, I've got a feeling for another T. And sometimes it's just intuition. It's kind of funny because I might be actually replicating something similar to what I did above without even consciously knowing it. Let's clean that up. It's the top of my T though. I like that one. But I gotta get it. Whoops. There we go. Clean it up. Okay. Interesting, this exercise. I think that design is often very unconscious. you know, I know I'm doing all this for a reason, right? Some kind of experience is telling me that it can work doing it this way. Let's clean this up. That's odd. First of all, this has to be flush right there. And this is a strange move that I made. I think what will work better is if I move this here and then delete this anchor point. So you can kind of see, like, it's actually something very similar that I did, with my intuitive map that's in my mind. I think in hindsight, the system may have been too complicated, but we're not done yet, so I'm not going to jump to conclusions quite yet. Okay. But I do want to, let's see, now I got to work on an H, right? Actually, I feel like these, I'm just intuitively going on a journey here, folks. It's a little bit more choppy, huh? I think the reason why it's a good idea to do multiple versions of these letterforms is you're kind of learning the system as you're going. So my intuition is telling me, I don't know why, but I kind of feel like this is an opportunity. Okay, I'm going to delete this other anchor point. I don't need that. Huh. Yeah. Oops. No, and I actually made a mistake because I actually needed two T's, right? Can't even spell my own name, folks. It's okay. This is a real, notice what just happened there because I have this layer locked. I couldn't move everything, but I'm just kind of, oops, I got to turn on snap to grid again. So I can get these exactly where they need to be. There we go. Simple correction there. Lock down the system again. Got a little bit out of order because I got excited about the process. Now, another way that this could be done is to use the shape builder tool. And so let's see here. So Okay. So we just need another real fast T. By the way, all these this letter form information, I'm putting it on the wrong layer. It's a simple correction. All I have to do is select it, select everything up here. Put that on. Now let's go back to hmm. Yeah, there's similarity. Yeah, the design system is kind of telling me what's possible while I'm working. And by the way, I just made a mistake, folks, because I have to go back to snap to point, right? And snap the grid off. There we go. Now it wants to cooperate. Hear that? Okay. There's some intuition here. That's all I'm doing. While trying to work within the constraint as well, of course. It's good. Actually, let's just take it all the way to the edge over here. Clean it up a little bit. This is off. There we go. Just save it too. You never know what's going to happen. Yeah, definitely with the way that I've designed the system is describing a typeface that is definitely sort of askew, right? And that's because of the way I started this project. So just kind of keep that in mind. The system is describing what's happening with the letter forms. So if you work from some sort of less complex beginning, the real truth is I actually think that I overcomplicated that initial system. So I'm reflecting right now and thinking, I think I know how this could have been done a little bit better. But again, this is just a simple tutorial. I'm trying to walk you guys through the software and through a little bit of creative process, okay? And as far as I have a definite feeling that, and I'm kind of doing something similar to what I had already done previously. I want this bottom of this T to feel like a trunk. Let's go back and clean this up. There we go. Because it's really strange. I get a lot of satisfaction when things are spot on. And so if you're a designer and you kind of feel that click in your head when things just seem to be working, I know you understand as well. Yeah, see, I mean, Illustrator can get really perfect, which is why, I mean, this is the program to do this in. You can zoom in and really look at those details. Like these two are quite similar, aren't they? If not almost the same, not quite, right? You can still feel the design system in all of these T's. Believe it or not, I'm actually ending up able to do quite a few of these T's because I'm about to do one more. So I've got 4 different T's to work with. At some point, I'll have to decide, well, which one really describes that letter A the best? I really like this M compared to that one. I feel like this one fell short a little bit. Like I could go back and sort of course correct because I think there needs to be an intermediary sort of device here. So in fact, let's just do that. Isn't that the beauty of being in charge of a project? You get to do what you want. And so, yeah, if I were to do this again, I would be a little more bold. And with the Pathfinder tool, I can connect these two guys, right? Let's zoom in and make sure everything's kind of spot on now. See that little mistake right here? That would have, there we go. Course corrected. All right. Bring back the Pathfinder tool, our old friend. All right. Now that's one object. You see that? Save it. Yeah. I still like this one more. Feels better. You can just read it more. And although this is a very abstract A, I can see it. I can feel it. I think one thing that I could have done here is I feel like I'm gonna do it, guys. You ready? Again, I'm in charge of this project. I can make changes. I can add an anchor point. I'm going to move that anchor point here. I'm going to add another anchor point right here. I'm going to move that anchor point into the corner. And that's just me intuitively making a few changes, right? But I'm still honoring the design system. I can't wait to get to these guys. I mean, that's going to be the next step. And this may not be useful for all of these letter forms. We'll see. We'll see. Right. Okay. I'm just kind of thinking, looking at this a little bit, folks. Let's work on one more T. Okay. I'm going to be really bold. And I'm going to move all the way over. I'm just intuitively, I'm almost kind of learning from myself as I'm doing this project, folks. That swath of content. I really like that move right there. That felt good. You can feel it. Yeah. Furthermore, now I have a feeling that I want to start here. This Might I want this T to feel a bit different. I really do enjoy this, guys. It's just fun. Hmm. Okay, bring things up a little bit. We don't need that additional anchor point anymore. And this guy needs to talk to this intersection more clearly. Yeah, that's not it. It's definitely a more unique T. And I gotta tell you, I wonder, I'm just kind of following my intuition, folks. That's everything here. I'm gonna add an anchor point. I have a feeling if I put that here, and then add another anchor point here. Let's try this. I do like that. Okay. I tried to move with a different rhythm with that T compared to the others. Okay, we need another H, right? It's just kind of bear with me. I'm not sure where I'm going, but I have a good feeling. That was a journey with a line, right? Quite the journey. Hmm. Clean this up. A few things that didn't quite lock. Save. Hmm. You can kind of hear the creative process happening within me, folks. I like this sort of, I feel like that's a good opportunity there. Hmm. Something's missing. I mean, it's not bad, but I feel like I might have to go back and use my Pathfinder again. Or I can just add some anchor points. That's acceptable too. Whoops. Gosh darn it. It's not being cooperative. What's going on here? Doesn't want to acknowledge that. Okay, let's try a different strategy. There we go. There we go. Sometimes Illustrator is just fussy. I don't know. That was something I felt like I needed to do. And I'm glad I did. I mean, I'm sure you guys can see it, right? It's starting to take form, and you got to trust these systems and what they can do for you. Hmm. I mean, I'm getting closer. I mean, this is feeling good. I'm really enjoying this as well. So take a sip of my coffee. Well, I've been here a little while though. It's cold now. Okay, so I need a couple successful E's because that's sort of a rhetorical statement though. Creating a. But I'm looking at this system and I'm trying to kind of envision. I'm going to start here. That seems to make sense to me. You guys, again, I'm just following my nose. I'm really looking forward to that next phase with the female aspect. Hmm. We need to. Yeah, I think I see it. I missed it. Let's try this. I think I know what I need to do. I need to take advantage of this opportunity. I mean, maybe I overcomplicated that one. Probably. Oh man, you guys, I might have to backtrack a little bit. I think I'm gonna have to think of this in partitions. Okay, but one thing I know for sure, see, I got to close the loop here, so I missed the boat. I did make an error there. It's okay. I think I'm gonna work with this letter E in separate partitions. And I can already tell I'm sort of drawn to this moment down here. I just want this to be really kind of heavy on the bottom. And now so I've got like the top of the E and the bottom of the E. Now I've got to figure out this sort of, got to mediate things. I like this. I think I might be a good opportunity here. I kind of wish I had two centers when I, with this initial design system. Two two separate centers I think would have been nice. Hmm. I think you guys can see in my thinking, it's hard for me to break these design rules. You gotta have a little bit of respect for them, but you can't worship these design rules. Let's see, this is a kind of, there's a pickle happening here. I think this, okay, I think I like that. I can live with it. Yeah, two centers would be really nice right now. But it's okay, actually. You have, I mean, the design, here's the thing, guys. The grid and these modular systems and these design systems, they're so powerful. They really carry a lot of knowledge and experience within them, and they've been used. They're timeless creative paths. And that's why I respect these systems quite a bit. So, you know, a nice E actually. I'm happy with it. I can live with it. Yeah, a lot of work, right, guys? I mean, you can't do this in 10 minutes. It takes a while. Okay, let's get going on that E. Stop wasting time, right? Hmm. Hey, I'm just going to use my intuition. I'm going to etch some things out. Make the adjustments later. See that? That's the other thing. You can kind of take a step back. You can spend a lot of times in the weeds or with the details in Illustrator, but taking a step back can move things forward really nicely and quickly. I think I like the result. Wait. So, ooh, looks nice. Oh, okay. All right. It's a good beginning. I'm just kind of, you guys, I'm really trying to be playful right now. Respect the design system. Have fun. But I can already feel these really exciting when I decide, or when I get to the point to add that female aspect variable to this project, I think it's going to add a lot to things. And of course, I'm using that phrase and metaphor, about the curvatures and the angles. I am seeing something else. I'm kind of envisioning it in my head. And again, kind of taking a step back and then diving in to clean things up. You know, imagine working on a project like this collaboratively, and you've got to hand it off to someone so that they can make some changes or, add their contribution. But yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that E. It's not as successful as the other one, but that's why I have two. And in fact, again, folks, if I were in the business of doing, instead of just two versions of E, but having four or five, I mean, you can kind of see, even just since I've been doing this, I'm really learning. I'm learning to get to the center of what I'm really looking for. And sometimes you can't figure all that out in a sketchbook. I know that kind of sounds crazy because I'm always telling folks, use your sketchbook. But really, I'm sketching right now too. I'm sketching digitally. Um, so these are all sketches. So this one I'm not happy with. I know I'm not sure how I feel about it. Let's put it that way. I really like this T. Almost kind of feels like a Y too, though. It's interesting. It has a real nice big foot, you know, on it. This M. Yeah, there's some nice things happening here. This one didn't work. I think definitely that feels more like an A to me. Yeah. And this feels like a stronger H, I think. Okay. Well, now we're off to something else. I think the W is going to be a lot of fun. Okay. Starting a process here, guys. Look it out. Hmm. Okay. I think I like this. It's sort of like the point of the W. Working intuitively again. Well, not sure how well that worked. Might have to take a back step, folks. So W, boom, boom. One, two, three, four. Just kind of thinking about the moves here. There's something missing. Let's try this. Hmm. W is a pickle with this system. I think I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna start over. This doesn't feel right, guys. And I'm just kind of looking at these forms and how they can be used. So analyzing with my mind a bit. I have a feeling start on the corner this time. You know, I'm really glad that I just decided, hey, this isn't working, and I took a back step. W, W. And then I think this, again, you know, following my nose, folks. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Whew, man, some problems on visual thinking. Take a look. Have a feeling again. Maybe. Maybe. Make some adjustments, but it feels more like a W now. Really, a W is 4 elements: 1, 2, 3, 4. So, there's this kind of, yeah. I think actually getting rid of this anchor point would help a lot, folks. Yeah. Yeah, this one, the struggle really kind of helped this one to become. Let's zoom out and take a look. My intuition is telling me that something needs to kind of flank out here. Let's try it. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Yes. I think I kind of feel like some additional connective tissue could happen here, but the design system, well, again, I had mentioned this before, that central location is causing me a few issues later on. The only way I think I can add a little tissue there. Just try it again. That's the beauty of this. It's not what I want. You guys don't mind just listening to me talk myself through this. When you're a designer, you do end up talking to yourself a little bit. A little more tissue there. I can live with it. Okay. I'm just kind of thinking here, reflecting, guys. I know there's a little bit of silence in this video. Okay, let's try and, I mean, this W was a real pickle, but let's try it one more time, okay? I think I've learned a few important lessons. Take us further. Hmm. Down here. Hmm. I'm going to use this moment to my advantage this time. Everything's really on par. And I mean, I love Adobe Illustrator because of the precision that's possible. Hmm. I'll work over here first. I have a feeling that, I don't know, this just feels right to me. Let's clean it up. Come on, snap, please. Sometimes these things can be a little difficult. Hmm. How that happened. But, come on. Get rid of this other handle. It has, because, or excuse me, this other anchor has some handles. You see that? It's a little bit of a curve there. It's weird. You got to be careful when you're putting anchors down that you don't want to move your mouse. You want it to remain static like that. Yeah. There we go. And of course, now it doesn't want to snap to that point. Illustrator is giving me trouble, huh? There we go. A lot easier the second time, frankly. And I think I'm seeing the second solution. Keeping it simple. Second W may have been more successful. That's why we always do more than one, right? Just another lesson in this journey. It's really nice and kind of light. You know, some of these letter forms are a little more heavy. Okay, guys, we're going to end this half right here, and we're going to start on Nijoni in the next video. And so, and in that next video, we'll also work with this female aspect with all the letter forms, okay? So I'm going to split up this video or this tutorial into 2 videos. See you guys on the other side. Thank you.